The answer to the question of who is responsible for resources for your project might not be as simple. And here's the why. Hey, if you're new to the channel, I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, listen, that just simply means ed. I have an 8-point framework, and these 8 points, my job, my goal, my journey is to unpack today's title, which is entitled, Who Should Be Responsible for Stakeholder Resource Allocation? Again, who should be responsible for stakeholder resource allocation? Is it the project manager? Is it the resource manager? Is it the PMO? Is it their direct? Is it their manager? Their manager? Who is it? This is a very interesting question, and watch how today we unpack this thing. First of all, point number one, most obvious that we would think about when we are thinking about resources. And see, this is one of the things I truly believe this needs to be part of the triple constraints. What do you mean, ED? I've said this before on previous videos of the triple constraints. As we know it, it is budget, we know it as cost, we know it as quality, we know it as scope. However, resources is very key. You always see that a lot in projects where there's a resource constraint. We always see that resources sometimes get confused, like, what is the priority? Is it this project over here or that project over there? Or is it just BAU, meaning business as usual activities? So we're going to point out some most obvious here, and then hopefully near the end, I can address what they say is the elephant in the room or the ED in the room appropriately. All right, so the first one is the role of a dedicated resource manager. I'm gonna be honest with you, family. If you ever had a resource manager part of your organization, it's amazing. I mean, no, really, it is truly amazing. Okay, ED, what makes it amazing? What makes it amazing is that they're responsible, their job, their key role is, watch this, family, and I'm gonna break it down first in very layman terms, just to make it very simple and simplistic, the way it was explained to me when I first heard about this thing called a resource manager. Basically what they do is just make sure that people have work to do, and that the work that they have to do is not more than what they should be allocated for, if that makes any sense. Basically just giving them more and more work and not giving them the appropriate bandwidth to achieve that work. Now, more technical, what they do is more they implement, excuse me, a centralized resource management function in which are allowed to be overseen, or they have an opportunity to oversee all of the project allocations. Sometimes I've seen resource managers use tools to basically have a visual a visual of all the resources that are working on various projects, so they can manage them effectively. A quick case study: I know tech companies like Google have utilized a dedicated resource manager to optimize team allocations across innovative projects. Again, a resource manager is key. And I have to be honest, family, I haven't really seen resource managers unless it's like a bigger organization. And you normally don't see these at a smaller organization. And I know the question is come up, well, what's a smaller versus bigger organization? Again, that can be subjective at times. So that's why I said, so I should be more clear. Sometimes I've seen resource managers, and sometimes at a bigger organization, I haven't seen them. So it could go either way. But a resource manager is really key to help you as a project manager to say, okay, hey, you said you needed these resources, you said you needed them for this amount of time throughout the project, and they break it down hourly, and then they say, okay, well, I can give you these resources here. When I tell you as a project manager how invaluable, I mean, I should say this is so valuable to you as a project manager when you're leading a project. By the way, family, I want to let you know my trainer, my coach, my mentor, you're going to have an opportunity to go spend time with him on February 24th and February 25th from 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What you're going to learn in here is basically, if you're somebody that has already obtain their PMP, and just want to tune up, just want to get things right. You want to go check this out. It's going to be important for you. Matter of fact, it's going to be imperative. I'm going to be there. Why am I going to be there? Because, like I said, I don't, a lot of times people come on here and they make videos about, oh, you should do this. You should be a lifetime learner. And then you go do homework on them, and they're not going to attend the seminars. They're not going to the workshops in their craft. So I have to lead by example, because I am a leader. You're a leader if you're watching this, and because I'm a leader and because you are a leader, then this is important that you want to go to this workshop and check it out. Again, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be impactful. It's going to be life changing. And again, I know it's subjective, but again, family, you need to go check it out. It's going to be 7 modules between the 2 days that you're going to have an opportunity to just really touch up on your project management. And again, like I said, I will be speaking there as well. I'll have a speaking part just to talk about some of the things I'm excited about from not just only a project management standpoint, but just from a personal development thing as well. All right, let's move on to point number 2. Project manager's central role. What this basically means is a project manager should develop a resource allocation plan that aligns with the project priorities and constraints. Sometimes we can get so caught up in that we forget we are responsible for our stakeholders. We are responsible for delegating the task out appropriately and making sure that the bandwidth is there from stakeholders. Now, sometimes, now it can be unfair because now you're doing the role of what we talked about at the very first point, which is a resource manager, but you are responsible for a resource plan. So again, like I said, you're going to have to stay to the end because this is going to get really, really tricky. I don't hear a lot of project managers talking about this because normally what they'll say is your responsibility as a project manager to lead the resources and making sure the bandwidth and everything like that. But that you can't do that for everything. You can't put a one size fits all type approach to every project, because that's what makes a project unique is because it's temporary. And so saying that a project manager is solely responsible for the resources of every project, and you have a resource manager, as part of the organization, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. So if you have a resource manager, then no, I think the project manager and the resource manager should collaborate in ensuring that the bandwidth is there and is available. Also, I want to point out here, as far as the central role is that project managers often are in the best position to oversee the stakeholders' resource allocation due to a couple things here: the project scope, they understand that, the project timelines, and the objective of the actual project. All right, let's move on to point number 3: executive sponsorship and governance. Listen, I have to be honest with you. I'm currently right now in the process of writing a book called The Magnetic PMO. And the reason why I'm writing that, the PMO, that acronym is Project Management Office. The reason why I am writing this book was many reasons, but I'll share one of them here. The reason is because being able to get executive buy-in is very critical to your project. And meaning being critical, meaning that the value that they can bring to the project, and I'm speaking of executives, as well as the governance of the actual project. Listen, this what ends up happening is that here, let's look at an actionable step. By regularly reviewing meetings between project managers and executive sponsors, it allows the opportunity to adjust allocation as needed. Because with a project, a lot of times there's you might need a lot of resources as you're initiating and you're going to the planning, and then you start executing. But as you start ramping down, you could start reallocating some of those resources, whether to another project that you have or to another priority that the organization may have. So by connecting, or I should say collaborating with executives, as well as the governance aspect of things, will actually give you a win by being successful in the resource allocation aspect. Point number 4: stakeholder involvement and decision making. Listen, I've always shared this with you, family. Having the ability to engage stakeholders early and often is really going to be your key to success. By facilitating stakeholder meetings to discuss the resource needs and constraints. Because you know what, let me park here parenthetically real quick because I want to point out something. What I found out, family, is that when you talk to stakeholders, and I'm not, and I know that sounds weird. You like, what do you mean you're not talking to them already? No, a lot of I've seen project managers who lead projects that they don't really talk to their stakeholders. They don't make a connection with their stakeholders. But to be exceptional, you want to be able to connect with your stakeholders and have these conversations like, hey, what are the constraints you're up against? Because a lot of times what you may find out that they are stretched too thin. And if you know that as a project manager and you're leading a project, you have the opportunity to say, okay, I know this resource is stretched thin, and you could start a discovery response and answer, meaning that, hey, okay, how long do you think you're going to be stretched at? Is it going to be a month or 2 months? They say, all right, 2 months. All right. And then I can go back and figure out, okay, what can I move around? What can I negotiate in the meantime while this stakeholder is stretched thin? So that's important, family, to be able to have these conversations with your stakeholders regularly and often to understand what their bandwidth is so you don't get stuck with having a resource issue. Point number 5, my favorite message: utilize a project management office, better known to us as called a PMO. Listen, establishing a PMO to oversee project governance and resource allocation. I mentioned it earlier in point number 3 when I was talking about the executive sponsorship of them being involved from executive level. But what is really key here is, family, is if you can get a PMO in place. Again, I told you I'm writing the book, The Magnetic PMO, and the reason why book is being written is because of the value I seen and I've experienced of being able to set up PMOs as well as being a part of a PMO as a project manager. You see, what a PMO does, it establishes oversight of projects, meaning the governance, meaning the resource allocations aspect of things. And this is really key. One of the things, there was a company out there, you may have heard of this company called Procter and Gamble. They have leveraged the PMO to basically streamline project execution, resource allocation, and significantly improving their project success rate. See, that's a lot of things that we don't talk about the PMO, how the PMO, the project management office, can really improve the success rate. The success rate of, and one thing here too about a PMO that sometimes can happen, and as a PMO becomes successful, they forgot about keeping the main thing. This wasn't even part of the talk, but I'm gonna deliver. I like to over deliver in value, is that they don't go back and talk and chat with the project managers to understand, hey, what's out there working, what is not working, what do you want to see change. And I don't know why they don't do that. I mean, maybe one day I'll figure that out, or maybe leave a comment if you're somebody that runs a PMO. I would love to get that feedback. But it's important to understand the ability to be able to engage with the people that are actually doing the role of project management to see what's working out there and what is not working out there, especially from a governance standpoint, will actually help the PMO holistically from a whole to have more success. Okay, I'll get off of that. Point number 6, integrating technology and efficiency. Listen, evaluate and implement project management tools that offer a robust resource allocation feature. There's so many different tools out there from a technology standpoint that offer you an opportunity to see kind of what the resource constraints are by plugging in, once you plug in your task with the stakeholder that's responsible for it, to have a really overview to look at the data to say, man, all right, I see Jimmy is he's really overbooked here. I got to see if there's someone that could either take that off or let me see who I can connect with to help Jimmy out. Point number 7, adapting to agile methodologies, or I should say really an agile framework, not a methodology, because a methodology would be more like a waterfall. Agile is a framework, and when you look at that framework, being able to teach and train team members about how to do sprint planning versus maybe doing a waterfall approach. Now, we all know this, that uh, you can't apply agile to everything. Like you can't say, okay, I'm going to do Scrum, and you're like, but this is probably needed more for a waterfall type methodology. I'm probably going to break that down one day in a video so we can get a better clarity on, because I've seen people just want to throw Scrum at everything. And it's like, that's not a Scrum type project. I'm not the Scrum. I do have my CSM. I am a certified Scrum Master, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that you may want to do waterfall with this particular piece, but we can go through a checklist to see if it would fit that. So maybe I might put that together for the family who's ever thinking about running any type of Scrum type project or any agile type thing. But really, reason why you would want to use Scrum is to be able to do sprint planning, to be able to what I like to call Scrum is the ability to test fast to get faster results. Meaning, hey, we're going to run a 2 week sprint, we're going to run a 3 week or a 4 week sprint to see, okay, these are results we're looking for. And most of the time, what you'll see a Scrum framework ran is mostly in application development, because you get that quick user feedback, and so that's going to be key. But really, what you want to understand is that just the ability, if you're working in a fast-paced environment, to be able to take that fast-paced, to be able to move faster with Scrum is really the ability to say, all right, let me go and test this out and see how it works. And it's just the flexibility in Scrum. But I do want to say this again, that Scrum or an agile framework is not applicable to every project. Okay. All right. Point number 8, optimizing team skills and capacity. Listen, one of the things that I really think is, and I'm starting to see more of it, that you're seeing team members that are cross trained. Now, this can be a good thing or this can be a negative thing. Reason why I think it could be a good thing is because now maybe that team member could work on two different tasks that maybe they only would have had singular focus on. But that is the negative thing. So when you have that, now the team member may be, or I should say the stakeholder may be, uh, uh, their bandwidth may be short, or they may be, now all of a sudden it's just too many priorities competing at one time, and they don't know, okay, which task is more important versus if you had a subject matter expert in each particular area that is applicable to the project that you're leading. I know Zappos emphasizes on employee skill development and allocation of resources, really based on the customer needs, and employee strengths have been a key really in the success in delivering exceptional customer service. At the end of the day, you have to understand, family, that we are in the customer service business as well. And so being able to build a team up that can be almost like a Scrum framework that has a more self-organizing type approach to when we're actually leading projects is going to be successful for them. So we always want to keep in mind that having the team build additional skills so they can grow. We don't want to limit them. We want them to grow. All right, I have a bonus for you, family. Actually, I'm gonna give you two bonuses. Facilitate an interdepartmental cooperation. What does that even mean? Listen, it just basically means the ability to create cross-functional teams for projects that require for a diverse skill set and diverse perspective. This is really, really great and amazing to leverage, especially when this allows departments that maybe normally wouldn't work together, and just leading, it just helps lead more efficient, be more efficient with your resources, more efficient in reducing this thing that I just despise, which are silos are meaning that, oh, here's my work and I'm gonna go over here, instead of let's collaborate and work together. And then at the same time, this is a really good benefit for the organization, because it really maximizes the organizational capabilities. Last and final bonus is conducting regular resource reviews. I've stated that earlier, family, the importance of scheduling, monthly, quarterly, bi-weekly, weekly, whatever it's going to take to review the resource constraints, to review, okay, let me look at the key stakeholders. Do we have backup in place? What does this look like, from basically putting everything up and we're just literally talking through it, whether through a software, whether through Excel, whatever particular tool that we're using to gauge how much work the our stakeholders have, is going to be important. Listen, I'm gonna close with these three items here. There's 3 points that I want to make clear and make known. We need to have executive sponsorship and governance in order to have success in leading our project, because if we don't, it's going to be hard to fight for resources because they're not going to understand the priority. Point number 2, having the ability to have stakeholders involved early and often, especially during decision making, because when you are making decisions and you have a collaborative approach to making decisions, then the team that is making these decisions together, they are buying into it more than versus if you're just dictating. Now, there are going to be moments where you will have to dictate, but then when the moments you don't, and you can create a more collaborative approach, it's going to help you long term when you do have to make more of a that you have to dictate and say, hey, this is not up for negotiation. This is what we have to do based on the customer needs. I'm sorry, but this is what it is. And point number 3, again, conducting regular resource reviews. So to unpack this and answer the question, who is responsible? Well, again, it's subjective. It depends on what type of organization you work in. It depends on, the stakeholders that are part of your project. It depends on your experience as a project manager. A lot of times what we would do is, like I stated earlier at the beginning of the video, that we will dictate and say it's the project manager's responsibility and accountability. But that's not always true in every organization, because you may have a resource manager that will be responsible for helping that you guys collaborate on and create a resource management plan in way where they would be responsible for the bandwidth of the resources, of saying, hey, you need X amount of resources, but you're be responsible for planning those resources in. I hope that helps somebody today around resource planning. I may do a deeper dive if you guys want me to do a deeper dive on resource planning, what type of tools I would use, how I would approach it, and everything of that nature. But from a high level, these 8 points plus those 2 bonus points will definitely help you and assist you. And you got to look at the organization that you're in, and to identify, hey, do we have a resource manager? If we don't, do we have a PMO? We don't. If we don't have that, okay, I guess it's all going to fall on me. If it falls on me, how am I going to be able to get resources in to support me, or maybe getting a resource manager, or maybe even creating a PMO? But anyway, till next time, family, I'm your boy AD, and you know my slogan. I'm out.